What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And listen, we're continuing on with our preview of Week 4 of the XFL season. We're getting into Sunday's games. I hope you're ready for it. Now, listen, guys, I've been saying this, and I'm going to continue saying this here on out for a little while, and that's support the XFL. If you're watching this video and it's your first time here, listen, I'm glad to have you, but I want you to know that the XFL, it's something that I think that it's good football. And it's just something that's not been getting a lot of attention out there in the national, sports media, the sports realm. And listen, we just need to spread the word. So if you're somebody out there, you're liking the XFL, you like what it's doing, support it. And what do I mean by support it? I don't mean that you have to go out there, you have to buy any merchandise, or you have to spend any money, or anything like that. Listen. We all have an online presence, and listen, we all have a voice, and it doesn't have to necessarily be the real voice like mine. It can truly just be online comments. It can be likes, on Facebook. It can be likes on Twitter. It can be discussion comments. It can be retweets. You have a voice. And voice your opinion that you like the XFL out there. That's all I'm asking, is just to support this XFL community so that we can have it around for a while and just have some more fun football, especially after the college and the NFL season's over. So that's pretty much all I have to say today about that. You know the whole thing. If you want to subscribe, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And listen, leave me those comments down in the comment section. You know I read them. You know I respond to them. You know I love interacting with you guys. And if you leave me something good, I'll definitely go ahead and I will feature it in an upcoming video. All right. Sorry for taking so long, but I wanted to get that information out there. Let's go ahead. We're working on Sunday's games. And Sunday, we're starting off with, and I wish this would have been the nighttime game, but hey, we're still getting it. This is for the first place in the West. We have a showdown. We have a rivalry. This is for the best of Texas. This is for the state of Texas. That's right. We have the battle for Texas, and we have Houston coming into town, and they are facing Dallas. Now, this game, like I said, is starting at 4 p.m., and this game is going to be on FS1, which I really wish it would have been on Fox, but hey, it is what it is. So listen, guys, tune in, watch FS1, because we are going to have a crazy one there. It's going to be a great evening, afternoon. It's going to be a little cloudy, but listen, it's going to be 74 degrees there. It's going to be fantastic. The crowd's going to be great there at Globe Life Park. And it's just, if you can get there, you can buy tickets, get there, go to that game. It's going to be electrifying. All I'm going to say is right now, before we get into everything, is that this is going to be must-see football, and you're not going to want to miss what's going to be out there on the field. So, with this, we've got a spread of the Roughnecks are giving 2.5 points to the hometown Dallas Renegades. Now, what do I think about this game? And when I look at it, what are my thoughts? Well, my thoughts is that this is going to be a Texas shootout. These are two teams that have been both playing fairly well. Now you have the Renegades, who are 2-1. And if you remember, that first loss was to the Battlehawks, which we're finding out is a they're really a really good team. And they had Philip Nelson was the quarterback for Dallas during that game. Landry Jones was out with injury. So, and they lose a close game there at home. Then they bounce back and they get Landry Jones back, and they've been on a 2-game winning streak. That's where they're sitting right now at 2-1. They've got Houston Roughnecks coming in here, and they're led by the dynamic duo of PJ Walker and Cam Phillips. And those two guys, they literally are the dynamic duo. They're the 1-2 punch. Those guys have just been putting up ridiculous numbers. PJ Walker's got 10 touchdown passes right now, 700 and some odd yards passing over 3 games. Cam Phillips, let's even go there with him. He has 6 touchdowns in 2 games. That's right. He literally has scored 3 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games. They have been absolutely dynamic, the two of them together. But let's just not look at their offense. Let's look at both of these offenses. Both of these offenses have been prolific. The Landry Jones, he's thrown 4 touchdown passes in 2 games. So that's, right there. That's 2 touchdowns in each game. And they've been slinging the ball around the field. And, that's been great. It's been awesome. And so let's just kind of stay there with Dallas, okay? Because I think with Dallas, I'm really starting to get a sense that they're starting to figure things out. They're starting to settle things in. Landry Jones is a guy who's going to throw the ball around the field. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen how he's done that. Now, that's hurt him the past couple weeks. He's thrown 2 picks along, he's thrown 4 picks along with his 4 touchdowns. But as the game has progressed, he has gotten better and made better decisions to where I'm hoping by week 4 that the rust has fallen off and that he's ready to go and ready to just make some error-free football here. He's got some great targets and some great players that we need to key on and that we need to look at. Because he truly does have a really nice complement around him. Let's go ahead and let's start with the backs. He's got 2 really dynamic backs and guys that can break it at any time. They've got Lance Dunbar, who is the Dallas Cowboys veteran. And he's just a really good overall back and, very, very nice to complement him and Cameron Artis-Payne. Cameron Artis-Payne is more of a all-around every down type of a back, whereas Lance Dunbar is definitely more kind of your change of pace, third down type of guy. But they both can catch well out of the backfield, and both of them, have speed and can run. I would say that if I had my choice of the 2, I would probably take Cameron Artis-Payne. I think he can run a little harder, break a few more tackles, and that with it. But all in all, they've got really 2 solid options at running back whenever either one of them are in. And both of them have been running good. They've been running hard. Last week, Cameron Artis-Payne was down a little bit, had 80 yards. I've been waiting for one of these guys to break 100 yards. And, if I was a betting man, it would either be on Jones from St. Louis, or it would either be Cameron Artis-Payne. I think one of those guys is going to break 100 yards this week. That's kind of where my thought process is, and I'd like to see Cameron Artis-Payne break 100 yards this week. So we've got him, and then you've got just the litany of guys to throw to, and you've got Parham, who is just the juggernaut, just a beast of a man who can just truck it down the field and run away from you at 6'9". It's just insane the way that he moves. He moves so fluid and so nice the way he does. I'm just kind of baffled by just how well a man that size, an athletic a man that size is. You've got Nagel. Nagel's a really good possession wide receiver. Tends to find creases and holes, and Landry Jones is definitely starting to find him. I think that they've got a really good complement around them with that, but those are really the guys that are kind of standing out to me. Those are the guys that are being dynamic and making plays. And a lot of it starts with Landry Jones. It's funny. This air raid offense, usually offenses like, the run sets up the pass. And that's what you would normally see in most situations. That is not necessarily the case in this offense. As the game goes on, the running game seems to pick up and seems to go, and then, they break them in that with it, to where the pass really almost sets up the run in this type of offense. I like it. It's fast-paced. Again, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to reiterate it. If you want to watch a fast-paced football game, this is the game for you this week. Now, looking at Houston, they run the run and shoot. We've talked about it. But P.J. Walker, he was built for this offense. He runs this offense beautifully. When things break down, he is able to make plays and get the ball down the field. And he's very, very accurate. He's thrown 10 touchdowns and only 1 interception all season long. The guy's been throwing good balls. He knows when to tuck it. He knows when to get down. And he's very, very elusive. It's very hard to bring him down. He is literally a video game player here. I mean, that's just what we're seeing out of him on the field. And he has a whole plethora of just weapons around him, of guys that he can throw to. Now, we've got some of the guys who are kind of dealing with some injuries, but I expect pretty much most of them to be playing. Guys like Phillips, who's kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury. Their starting running back, Williams, he's dealing with some injury. Now, you start looking at Sammy Coates as another one, but listen, that whole stable of guys, it's hard just to key in on one of them because they're all dynamic and they all can just about break it at any time. I mean, you've got Lewis, Coates, Holly is a guy that, and again, he's one of these guys, I think that he can be a game changer in this game. The way that he plays and the way that Dallas's defense is, that they might be able to exploit them with him. He's just it doesn't matter where he is. He's a matchup nightmare, whether it be with a cornerback or a safety, and he might be able to be more physical than them, or whether it be with a linebacker or a lineman, and he be able to be more athletic than them. It just seems like he is just a mismatch, even though he is a small running back type of guy. He just seems to he just fits that role and just how feisty he is. And he understands the game and knows how to get open. I really like him, and I really like to see him get a few more targets this week than what he has the past weeks. But listen, this offense has been firing on all cylinders. I don't really see it going anywhere with that. I like the way that they've been running with Butler. I can't say enough about PJ Walker and Phillips. They've just been playing phenomenal. Both of them have been playing good. They're pretty much, fighting each other for the MVP right now. That's just how I look at it. That's how I see it. It really, for me with this game, and, listen, the hype is there. This is big time football right here. And, I think it's going to be really, really fun. Because, you're literally going to see, it's almost going to be like basketball on turf. I really believe that these teams are going to be going up and down on each other on the field. And, one's going to get up, and then, the next one's going to get up. And it's really going to be which defense can hold the other team down in this situation. That's the way I see it. It would... The issue for me, I guess, if I had to kind of put some things out there, would be with Dallas. Landry Jones has had an issue with throwing interceptions. And I can tell you with Houston, if you give them an inch, they're going to run all over you. And Dallas really needs to protect the ball this week. Landry Jones needs to really hone it in, rein it in, and, not give the ball to Houston. Because if they do, that's going to be the opportunity that they need, because they're going to need to take advantage of every opportunity they get. Listen, they're going to be scoring points. It's whether or not a defense can stop them or hold them to a field goal or stop, the conversion from happening. That's one thing this week that I think that'll be really interesting, because I think both teams are going to be scoring back and forth. To see the chess game that's going to be happening between the two teams and the coaches when they score a touchdown. Are they going to go for 2? Are they going to go for 1? Are they going to go for 3? And how that is to try to, either one up or get up on the other team, or, bring them back in the fold. That's kind of how I look at it with this. I think that stadium's going to be rocking. It was rocking the first home game. I think that the fans are going to come out, especially because it is... Listen, this is for the state of Texas and the XFL. If you looked out on Twitter, you know that the mayors of the two cities have been kind of got this friendly little wager gesture thing going on, which is pretty cool. The cities are involved. They're in, the fans are involved. This is going to be a really big time atmosphere, especially for the XFL. I think it's going to be exciting. I really like it. Now, what are my thoughts when it comes to how the game is going to play out? I think that this is going to be a back-and-forth game. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be, up and down. They're going to be up and down the field the whole game. It is just going to – it's going to be almost like a tennis match, ping pong, whatever. I mean, you're going to be watching back and forth. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fun. When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I think that Dallas is going to make the plays and get the last laugh at the end. I think that they're going to score late to take the lead and hold on to it. I think that just with this running game, the way that they have been able to kind of pull that running game out and really finish these last two games with the running game, I think that that's how they're going to do it again in this one. And I think that they're going to tire this defense out by that time, and Cameron Artis-Payne is going to kind of take over. And like I said, I look to see him to have 100 yards this week. So that's my take. I'll go ahead and give me the 2 points, but literally, I don't really feel like I need them. I think that Dallas is going to win it straight up, and that's my take on the first game. Trust me, if you're going to watch just one game of XFL football this week, this is the game you're going to want to watch. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. If you like a lot of scoring in football, this is the game for you. All right, so that's my thoughts on the first game. Let's move on to the second game now. And this is one of those games to where on paper it doesn't really look like it's going to be anything. But I'm telling you, your Sunday evening, you're going to want to sit on that couch and you're going to want to watch this game. This game is going to be shockingly exciting. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be a closer game than what I think most people think is going to be. And so let's go ahead and let's start there. This game is going to be happening on Sunday. It's going to be starting at 7. This is going to be on ESPN2. We're going to be back in Raymond James Stadium back in Tampa, Florida. It's going to be a sunny 68 degrees there as the sun is setting. It's going to be fantastic weather for football. I think it's going to be a really neat experience for those of you who are out there. Those of you in the Tampa Bay area, if you can make it out there, I think that you guys are going to have a fun time, have a fun game, and get to experience some really good football come Sunday. Now, looking at this, right now it's sitting with the DC Defenders are coming into town to play your Tampa Bay Vipers. And the Vipers are getting 1 point, and it's a pretty close spread, which when you look at it on paper, we're trying to figure out why in the world would that be the case. Because when you look at it, you've got an 0-3 Vipers team playing against a 2-1 DC Defenders team. Now, this DC Defenders team, they were 2-0 going into last week. They went out west, and they got their rear ends handed to them, lost by 30 points to a team that hadn't had a win yet this season. They are coming back, licking their wounds, and hoping to right the ship against an 0-3 Tampa Bay team. What seems like, this is probably something that could happen this week, right? Well, listen, this Tampa Bay team, even though they are 0-3, they have one of the best, probably the best defenses in the league. And for some odd reason, they can put up the yards. They just haven't really been able to score. And actually, last week was the first touchdown that they had scored on offense. And listen, they played the number one team in the league, the Houston Roughnecks, and they played them down to the wire and only lost by 7 points last week. They looked fairly decent. Now, they had some holes and some issues in their game. There's definitely that. But they had a lot of positives that happened last week, and so they're looking to build on that and take advantage of where DC is right now and come away and sneak away with the victory, especially with that home crowd. That's what we're looking at. That's setting the stage. So let's go ahead and let's break some of this stuff down with these two teams, because we have some interesting storylines coming in. Let's go ahead and let's start in Tampa. Tampa, it's all about the quarterback. And no, I don't mean that it's the quarterback's doing great. In Tampa, everything else seems to be going great and good, and they have all the pieces in place to have a winning team. They're just missing that quarterback. Now, their starting quarterback, he played most of the first game, and it came out that he had a foot injury. He's been out since, and he's going to be out this game as well. And that's who we're talking about, was Aaron Murray. And so last week, we got to see Cornelius back out there again with Quentin Flowers. And Cornelius played, it was okay. Quentin Flowers came in and played okay, but he wasn't in there for very much. So, we're thinking, okay, that's this week or whatever. We'll get Aaron Murray back. Well, come to find out, Quentin Flowers is nowhere to be found. I guess he's off on personal reasons, and it looks like through the rumor mill and what we're figuring out is that he's not happy with the team. Now, granted, nobody's come out and say this. Like I said, these are rumors. That he's not happy with the direction of the team. He feels that he should be playing more at quarterback, should be getting more reps, which totally, like he has, like with me, I think that that's a legit, definitely a legit gripe for him to have right now. And especially the way that he played the last game. They scored their first touchdown with him. It seemed like they just don't want to go with him. I think that I don't know what they think there in Tampa. And that's part of the issue and part of the problem. They had Cornelius in there, and Cornelius played okay at times, but bad at other times. And, it wasn't like he got better as he went. He kind of settled in with some things, but, towards the end there, tailed off, especially when they needed him the most. And, it's kind of been a trend that's been happening there in Tampa Bay. It's that Trestman has kind of been trying things, which has been good for them to figure things out, but he hasn't really stuck with anything to really figure out exactly what he has. I think he's stuck around with it enough to kind of see what some of the stuff is, but it just doesn't seem like he's really wanting to go with Flowers at quarterback, and that Flowers really isn't where he wants to go with quarterback play. Even though Flowers has played fairly decent when he's been in there at quarterback, and actually the offense is kind of sparked with him. However, it is a totally differently run offense, and he won't loosen up the reins and give Quentin Flowers more opportunities, even though I think especially last game he deserved it. I think that they would have had a better shot at the end of the game, especially when they were at first in goal at the end of the game with an opportunity to tie it or possibly take the lead at the end of the game, and they left Cornelius in there. I think that they would have had a better opportunity with Quentin Flowers. But all of that is explaining where we are today. Quentin Flowers is no longer on the team. He has left the team and has asked for his release. He isn't back on the team. He isn't going to be playing this week. And so it's all on Taylor Cornelius' shoulders. Well, what do I feel about that? Cornelius, I think he played okay. I think he could do better this week. How much better? I don't know. I don't necessarily think that he's the starting quarterback guy that I would want with this team, but maybe as he gets reps and progress, maybe he can, prove me wrong. I think the first game that he played, he definitely was getting his feet wet. I think he got his feet wet. I think that he rebounded fairly decent last week. Now we can just see if he can take that next step up to really being the starting quarterback and commanding the offense. Because I felt like he played okay at times, didn't play great, but I never felt like he had full control of the offense. Whereas I feel like with Flowers, when Flowers was in there, that they limited what he was able to do, but it felt like he kind of ran the offense, and too, it felt like that the guys got a jolt from him. I don't know. Maybe that's me reading into it too much, but listen, isn't that what we're supposed to do here, is read into these games and give our opinions and our thoughts based upon what we see, and that's what I see. And let's just stay on this quarterback controversy thing here, because this might hurt them on the field, but might also hurt them in the whole scheme of things for this Tampa Bay team. Why? Because if you paid any attention to that game last week, when Flowers got in the game, the fans were ecstatic. The fans there at Raymond James Stadium, the Tampa Bay people love Flowers. He's their guy. He was their guy. And when he got in, they were ecstatic. Whenever Taylor Cornelius did anything remotely close to bad, they booed him, and they booed him bad. And I can tell you that everyone that's going to be in that stadium knows what's happened with Quentin Flowers, and they are probably going to be blaming Trestman. That's not a good thing. Meaning, if Taylor Cornelius doesn't come out and play lights out and play really good this week, I don't think they're going to forgive Trestman, and they might actually lose fans because of what happened with Flowers. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm seeing. Do I want that to happen? No. Do I think that they should give Taylor Cornelius a shot? Yes. Do I think that it's unfair what happened to Quentin Flowers? Yes. Do I feel like the fans have a reason to be mad? Yes. Do I think that Trestman doing what he's doing and not allowing Flowers to have a shot to really see if he can lift this team up, has hurt this team? Yes. All of those things I think that are happening and I agree with. And I think it all stems from Trestman. And I think that he's kind of, when he should be zigging, he's zagging, and sometimes changing and doing things and changing things up when he doesn't need to be. And so what's happened is they haven't had any cohesion whatsoever, and that things just keep constantly changing to where they aren't getting a feel of and kind of in a rhythm in that. Now, I will say last week was the best that they've done, and they were able to actually do something that they hadn't been able to do all season so far, and that was be able to finish drives off and punch it in the end zone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Listen, they have all the pieces in place, and I haven't really talked about them. I love their running backs. I like what Patrick's doing. I like what Smith's doing. Those guys are both hard runners. They're good runners, and especially I love it when they complement Flowers, but Flowers isn't going to be there. So you've got those guys. Truesdale looks like he's going to be back. Great guy there. Dan Williams, they got him back into the game last week, and he looked good, and they need to get going back into him. One of the guys that was Tolliver was the guy that Cornelius was hitting, and he really stepped up his game. He looked pretty good to where I like what they're doing there. I like them throwing the ball to Smith, Devon Smith. I'd like to see them get him the ball more. But really, it just comes down to quarterback play. If they can get quarterback play, I think that DC is going to be in trouble in this game because their defense is solid. It's been solid all year. Granted, they've given up some big plays here and there, especially against Houston and against New York. Definitely, I get that. But as I look at it, I like what I see on the defensive side of things. They just need to really step it up there on offense and be able to pull out the win. So let's go ahead and let's look now over at DC Defenders. And DC Defenders, listen, for them, they have been punched in the mouth. They got knocked to the mat, but the match is not over. Listen, this heavy, this title fight, whatever you want to look at, it's not over. They still have 7 more rounds that they have to get through. And at the end of the day, this might be a good thing for them that they got punched in the mouth early. They felt what it was like, and that they can get this taste out of their mouth. And really, this week, it's kind of one of those things to where we need to see if they can do that or not. And what a better team than the Tampa Bay Vipers. The Tampa Bay Vipers haven't won a game yet, and really they've struggled on offense to really put any consistency together. So it really can kind of give this defense an opportunity to get back up on their feet. And listen, they're a good defense. So Cardale Jones needs to come back out and show people that, listen, last week was a fluke. You have a bad game here or there. He's going to learn from his mistakes. Their guys are going to get back together, and they're going to make some things happen. He was just a mess all last week, and there's no other way to put it. He threw 4 interceptions. Didn't take care of the ball. Saw the ball really bad last week, and who knows what it was. If it was the game plan that they had. Guys weren't blocking. I don't know. Don't know the excuses. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is here's the cool thing about this type of this game is to see how he'll bounce back, how he'll come in, take command of the game, and that with it, and how he and the other guys see what Presley does, Pumphrey. Those guys can get back on pace. He can start to hit his wide receivers again and get guys back in the game. If they can get back to playing dynamic, and especially if they can make Tampa Bay make errors, and Tampa Bay has made errors, and teams have been able to exploit that. So if they can, through special teams and defense, make Tampa Bay, cough the ball up, make mistakes, if DC can capitalize on them, they can have a really big day and have a fun day for themselves there in Tampa Bay and get right back on the horse and be just fine and be moving forward. And I think that they can do that. And so when I look at it, a lot of it comes down to is how poised is Cardale Jones going to come into this game, and are they going to come in, and are they going to come in like, somebody who is mad, ready, bull ready to take you out because you punched him in the face. He's getting back up and he's going to take you out. Is that what it is, or is this somebody who they're hurt? they're kind of feeling it, and and now they're a little hesitant on what they're doing. It really just depends upon what type of DC we're going to get here. And if they're going to come out and they're going to fight, I think that though Tampa Bay, with the way that Tampa Bay has played, and like I said, I think they're going to get some opportunities to take some advantages in this game. As I look at it, though, I think that both teams are going to feel each other out, and I think that this one's going to be shockingly close to people. I think that Cornelius is going to play better than most people think he will, but I don't think he's going to play good enough for the fans to really embrace him. And so I think that both of these teams are going to hang around with each other throughout the game. However, there's just something in me, for whatever reason, that I think that the Vipers are going to put it together this week and they're going to get their first win. I just think that with all that's happened and everything that's out there, with just all of the storylines and everything going on with, what's Quentin Flowers going to do? What's that going to end up with? Aaron Murray, is he, he's out still, but he's practicing. What's going on with that? Taylor Cornelius, they really don't want him. Back and forth with that. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to where we're going to be looking, and there's 3 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and this is a one-possession game, and it looks like, the team that's down looking to drive and could quite possibly score towards the end of it. And so where it's going to come down to one of the teams stopping the other team. And when I look at this, I actually think that the Vipers are going to come out. I think they're going to pull out a win. I think they're going to shock people. And, we're going to be talking about the first two team DC Defenders and the last two team DC Defenders, and that maybe this DC Defenders team just took advantage of having a good home crowd and being at home, and they just haven't been able to play well on the road. The other thing is that they've gone to the West Coast, and now they're going back to the East Coast again this week. So again, it's a cross-country travel that they've had to do, and now they're down in the South as opposed to with them being up in the North. So, I don't know. You add those factors in there. It's more of a feeling and a hunch than necessarily like looking at, all of these logical things. I think that, Tampa Bay is going to have their number and pull out the win this week. It's going to be ugly on both sides, but it's going to be a close game, and it's going to be one that's going to keep you intrigued throughout it, especially with all the storylines that we talked about that are going on with it. For me, there's a couple things that I'm going to be watching if you want to pay attention to them too. How Cardale Jones is handling the game, and how everybody else is flowing through with him to see where his leadership is leading them, and if he can rebound it. That's the one storyline I'm looking at. The other storyline is how this whole Quentin Flowers thing is going to, stress the relationship between the fans and Tressman, the coach, and kind of the staff. And if the fans are going to, if the fans truly embrace this team, or if the fans are going to, because they're not getting Flowers, if they're going to leave this team, and we're going to whereas they had a really good turnout last week, it's going to be down now because he's not there, and then we're just going to see just kind of the demise of this Tampa Bay team. That's really a storyline that I'm looking at, to really see how the fans are going to interact with this team, especially without Quentin Flowers, the guy that they wanted, and they let Tampa Bay know that they want him pretty emphatically. So those are what I'm looking at. Those are my storylines. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm picking. I'm going with Tampa Bay in the second game. And listen, guys, those are my picks. That's what I'm doing this week. That's what I'm going with. I don't know. Maybe you like them. Maybe you don't. I'd love to know down in the comments section. Let me know what you've got, what your picks are. All right. Well, I know that you're busy. I know that I'm busy. So let's get on out of here. You have a good night.